So that's a good point as well. The question that you've asked here, and I'll repeat it for Shannon, is there a generally accepted way? I would imagine the answer to that is yes. Because if you have a fear of spiders, there could be a lot of individual differences in what triggers, but the behaviorists over the years have seen so many people, you could probably go to a website and see all the possibilities. You find out from the subject, like if you in week 1 are in therapy and you say, I have a fear of spiders, you would investigate from the subject's perspective what that is. You would also know the 15 different permutations on that theme. They could find out what they are, and then, oh, it's all these stimuli they've built up, and then it'll have the treatment protocol that's generally accepted in that realm.
Oh, okay.
I would imagine that that's the way. That's what a behavior therapist would have developed and been good at. Or if you have something completely different, they know enough of the permutations that are similar to these scientifically based buildups, they would be able to modify something else to really build that in. The one thing a behavior therapist would not do with your fear would be what? To try to help you solve it.
Throw me in a bin with spiders.
Well, they could. So they could do the flooding thing, but they wouldn't just ask you to figure it out and think that if you become self-aware, oh, now you know it's just the comic book. No. The self-awareness is not important. They don't believe in the consciousness thing and just freeing the energy. It's all about stimuli and response and science. So very much the way. So let's go on to the next issue here. Let's see, that was A, that was B. Some sources for this. So let's go and see what you guys came up with here. I think, Debbie, for you, looks like you really kind of went into detail with, I think I asked each of you to do this. Actually, let me ask Devin first. Did you go and look at the alcohol dependence situation?
I did. I looked at alcohol.
So what did you find on alcohol dependence?
The biggest thing was I looked specific.
Antabuse, did you look for?
Yeah, specifically for antabuse. And I just looked at how it works to block the enzyme that basically makes you go from the euphoric effects of alcohol to the nauseant
nauseant state
of alcohol. And it really it looked like it had some reliable scientific backing that's
It
like
did.
85% effective and comparative to controls and stuff like that. It looked like it was very, very good at making people no longer wish to drink consistently.
So let me ask Debbie as the follow-up. So is that, according to what you did, are people using it a lot these days?
No,
Why not?
because of the toxicity risk and people having seizures with it. And they also found in one of the articles that I read is that people were learning not to use antabuse around times that they wanted to drink. And so there needed to be about a two-week clearance.
And so people would not use it at those times. The side effects, you even put potentially damage and death.
Oh, yeah.
That the real serious questions with
It's
some of
not
these
a
classical
fun.
conditioning things about ethics. Ethics, and is this ethical to do this to somebody? People have free will. I mean, should you really be subjecting them? So behavior therapy, many times there are huge, especially even when we get into flooding. Let me see what Shannon found on this as well. If I can report. Let's see. Actually, I think I can bring it up here. Yeah, I think I can bring one of hers up. I think I put it on the website spot. Let's see. Oh, we're not supposed to look at that. Pretend you're not looking at that. Don't look at the screen for a minute for me. I thought I had them both up there. Oh, I know where I put it. I'll get there in a second. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. So I put this for Shannon right on the class website. Let's see if I can just go to it now. So, systematic desensitization in phobias with developmental disabilities. That's the one she found. You can use it in this particular way, shape, or form. They go through the components, the hierarchy of ideas, and they develop it. It looks at the comparison of this, and it's found to be quite reasonable. You can use them with people with developmental disabilities because they lack some things here, so you'd want to get them to learn how to relax. They went through 5 case studies here and kind of showed that it was useful. I think back in her, let's see, document. No, I think I lost it again. I'm not getting so good at that. Nope, I lost it. Oh well. That's all right. Life goes on here. So the idea is, class, that according to what she had there, systematic desensitization used shoot, I didn't want to bring it back up. Oh, I printed it out. Good. That helps. I'll get better at this as the weeks go on, I promise. So basically she talked about 5 case studies that were used. My report. Here we go. 5 case studies that were used with developmental disabilities, and it looks like it has been effective. What I would ask both of you to do is maybe just look at that and see that it can be used in that situation. You could get a question next week about a novel use, probably, and just mapping it to why it is classical conditioning and why it is systematic desensitization. The second one that she found was a study about nightmares and about fear of nightmares. That you guys got some bad nightmares that happen sometimes? So she found an article that had fear of nightmares, and she said that they looked at 29 subjects and that systematic desensitization really helped. That you could actually train people even for fear of nightmares. So it can be effective. Did you find any applications, Devin, in terms of systematic desensitization?
I actually found one on spiders and the elimination
Okay,
of
so the spider issue. Okay.
Starting thinking of moving through, and it's just how to
How the hierarchy, the build up,
The
it's
hierarchy,
probably
the build-up,
because spiders
the
are so
step-by-step.
common, the step up. What you could be asked to do next week for the test is I could give you a novel situation and say somebody's got a fear of X. I could ask you to build up what you would do there and explain your logic for doing it.
Okay.
That would probably be a reasonable thing to do to look at this. So build your own case could be one example of a question you could get from me. Another case would be, here's a situation at hand in an article. Tell me what's going on and if it really maps well into what we talked about in class. So you found that one? Go ahead.
I did, and it just laid out the step-by-step
Of how you would go about
fear
the hierarchy.
moving through the stimulus, and it actually had a fear rating associated with everything.
So you give ratings. Why was that so important for the behaviorist to really have ratings and have all the stimuli? What was that? What?
It would give them an ability. Sorry, my computer's wanting to reset.
You're okay.
It would give them an ability to kind of systematically grade and report back patient A versus patient B, or
And the differences between and exactly what's going on. What would you say to that as well? Why would it be?
I think that it also would be a great assessment tool for how well the training was working. Because if you test them at, stage 1, and then you test them again at stage 5, if they're still rating that, that fear level up there, as a 10, then something's not working right.
And I was even going to say, from the point of, remember, behaviorism was trying to address things that introspection wasn't very good at. We're scientific, we have evidence, we're conditioning these things, we know what's going on here, we're being very scientific about the whole equation here, and we're helping people. Before this stuff came out, some people may have been practicing this, but it was never anything documented in anybody's literature. Okay, psychology is being useful. We're counter-conditioning people's fear. This is valid. This does follow what? Scientific laws and principles. We can see how it generalizes, higher order conditioning. And would you have the ability to cure people, to fix people? If it works right.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it seems to be that most of the time it seems pretty customary to have people follow up every 6 months to a year.
To make sure that they're okay. But it's very stimulus response based, very clear cut, and you're actually helping people change behaviors here, right? And fix things.
I also see, and this is kind of my thing, is you have they used a 1 through 100 scale. It's just as easy to use a 1 through 10 scale and less likely to screw it up, I would think. But it also opens a big door for pseudoscience issues, I would see. And I think it also probably adheres to why it's so easy to look negatively at this study, at this.
Give me again your take on it. So the behaviorists were trying to be very scientific, but where are you coming from in terms of your pseudoscience?
Well, I just feel if someone wants to get out there that they are the next self-help guru and look at how great I am, they can just kind of fabricate their numbers or make things seem much more escalated. Like,
Okay.
oh, look, she could look at the picture of a spider. That's a 5 on my 10 scale of feeling better. Look at how far you've come in just 2 weeks. Buy my ointment. I mean, it's sort of that. I see where it opens the doors for issues and why you can have other scientific groups look at behaviorism and some of the other things and say this is why you're not really a science.
But most of the other schools of psychology are actually much better. Or behaviorism is considered for all of psychology the strongest scientific realm, because in cognitive therapy, what are you thinking? How are you perceiving? And that's really subject to self-report ways, and how do you know, and what do you think? Are you better now? Yes, I am. So at least this is more quantifiable for our realm. But I can appreciate that from where you're taking it. So the aversion therapy, actually the systematic desensitization, and we've covered that. The aversion therapy that we were talking about before. Let me see how long we are on this recording. It's a good time to stop. 12 minutes.